Since conflict and hunger first drove people to leave home in search of survival and refuge, others have welcomed them, healing their wounds and providing a safe space for life. Such hospitality has often been driven by faith, and around the world today, people of faith are often found at the forefront of those providing safe shelter and health care for some 80 million refugees, displaced, and stateless people. When Venezuelans flee political turmoil at home, Brazilian church workers offer food and accompaniment. When Yazidis fled ISIS troops in northern Iraq, they found people of faith ready to heal and support them. In Austria, when young Afghan asylum seekers needed to learn the language, they found church volunteers ready to help.
Okay, jemand anderes? Diese gelben Dinger, das sind Kichererbsen. You know Erbsen? Pea, the green ones, yeah? Peas. Pea, yeah? Die grünen. But das sind Kichererbsen. Weißt du, was Kicher ist? Nein. Kicher ist... Das ist Kichern.
In Uganda, when South Sudanese families sought safety, they found volunteers, often motivated by faith, ready to help sustain life.
Is it painful? Is that painful? Yes. Okay.
Sorry.
In Hungary, when a flood of refugees provoked a harsh government response, faith-based organizations stepped up to provide food and drink, safe places for children, and a general sense of welcome. In Bangladesh, where persecuted Rohingya fled for safety, people of many faiths responded with love, ensuring that almost 1 million stateless people could survive. When Afghan refugees fled for safety to Pakistan, they found doctors from the Islamic Relief Society there to care for them. Inside South Sudan, more than 2 million people have been displaced by horrific fighting, and they're often forced into the bush where they survive on wild leaves. While some have sought safety on United Nations bases, tens of thousands of others believe that the church offers literal salvation and have sought shelter in church compounds, sleeping in the open, trusting the church can be an island of peace in a veritable ocean of war. At great risk, church workers accompany the displaced, providing everything from education in the camps to the disposal of unexploded ordnance in farmers' fields, to accompanying women returned from exile as they reestablished their farm fields. In the United States, the destination of many who flee repression and climate-fueled poverty in Central America, people of faith wander into the desert to provide water for thirsty migrants, while on the Mexican side of the border, faith groups organize food for hungry asylum seekers. For those who make it across the border, faith-based groups offer employment assistance, housing, and orientation about everything from how to use a bank card, to how to ride a bike, to how to use the phone in an emergency.
What is happening?
What is happening? My kitchen is on fire.
Is there anyone in the house?
No, when and
Outside.
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 Okay.
Not in the house.
Okay.
What is your phone number?
0201234567.
We'll be there. We're coming.
To how to take a test to get your driver's license.
Kwa jua anaenda kuspidi, kuna wakati anahitaji kwenda polepole, ndiye anakuja hapa sasa.
Faith communities are also at the forefront of pushing for humane immigration policies in the United States, at times even providing sanctuary for threatened migrants. When all else fails and migrants are deported back to Central America, Church workers are waiting to receive the flights at the airport and offer what help they can to the deportees. And for those migrants who disappeared during their journey north, faith groups in Mexico offer practical solidarity to the many mothers from Central America who search for their disappeared loved ones. In South Africa, when refugees from Zimbabwe suffered xenophobic attacks, it was a faith community that opened its doors to offer medical care and shelter from the violence outside. In occupied Palestine, where refugees lingered decades after being displaced, faith groups provide critical health care, vocational training, and other services, including helping children in Gaza to cope with the trauma of war, though it would appear that the best way to help children get over war is to scare them with something else. One often overlooked face in the collage of global migration is the overseas worker. There can be a thin line between being forced by conflict to leave home and being compelled by hunger to seek work abroad. The Philippines, for example, stays afloat economically on the labor of the workers it exports, leaving broken families behind. Faith-based groups support these overseas workers as they organize in places like Hong Kong, and back in the Philippines, helps those who are survivors of trafficking to put their lives back together. Whether refugees from Somalia who have escaped to Kenya, or Congolese displaced by armed conflict in their own country, or Colombians driven from their home by drug-fueled violence, or Sri Lankans fleeing war driven by religious and ethnic identity politics, or people in the Nuba Mountains of Sudan displaced by aerial bombing, members of faith-based groups are present around the world, sharing love in the middle of despair, risking their lives to bring healing and hope.